If there is a message for us today, I believe it is to learn to live from our heart in love. These short lessons, hopefully, will help to inspire you to live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. We are the change agent our world needs. I'm Helen Taves. Step into the river today with me to explore the mysteries of God. They are not hidden from us, but for us to discover. Hallelujah. Okay, there we go. Yeah, well, the first thing, I'm so glad to see you all, really and truly. And I love the fact that we've had these lovely testimonies of Christmas and everybody's the peace and the rest. I have to say ours was as well. So that was really nice. And yeah, those are nice testimonies. They are very encouraging. And there's Todd. He came through or around or over, however you got through that. Well,
I
welcome,
did.
welcome home. Anyway, tonight, Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Um, I'm really, really glad to start this year. I'm actually really excited about this next year, and or especially in the whatever is going on right now, that we shared a little bit together in the chat time about how things are shifting, what's really happening with us, the level of peace, just the things that we almost don't have proper language to. And I and it is something that when we get together, it seems that we are talking or speaking that way to each other a lot. And I wanted to jump into some subjects that I have folders actually of I don't know who said we should put some notes together, but I have folders of things that I really feel that the time has come. The time has come to dive into some things. But tonight, I I didn't want to. So many of us are on this homework from last night and the What If Chronicles, and I just want you to know what Kim opened last night was something that is actually beyond the subject that she chose. And that's what Father showed me this morning. It's sort of an amazing thing. Believe it or not, what she taught last night is foundational. And when I listened to it, I thought, wow, girl, you've taken us way beyond. But this morning I spent hours actually with Father and going, okay, because she was very secretive what she was doing. So I heard it the first time with all of you. And I went, okay, the students ready, Father. Now let the teachers come, and the teachers are going to start coming for us. So I'm excited about that season. So if you'll just go with me on this journey, tonight's might seem really, really basic. I'm going to just change to a speaker view for the lesson. And I have to pin myself, don't I? There we go. Uh, and yeah, it may seem really basic where we're starting, but because there's this dance right now with many of us with the What If Chronicles, and then the next night we're together, and I just want you to know I so appreciate everybody coming together. We're in it's like we're in for a penny, in for a pound here. There's so much going on, and I just am so grateful for the continuity that we're able to have when we get together and share together. So what I want to do as we're going into the things in this new year, and not only going into the things, but I feel like we're being set up for something that I'm very excited about. because every time that Kim and I start talking about the road trip and like what is going on, there's a sense of excitement. And one of the things that Father said to me, he said, Helen, I don't want you to think in terms of a conference ever again. I want you to create an event. And I said, well, how? What's an event? And he said, I'm going to show you. And so I do have more information than I'm sharing right now, but I'm pretty excited about this because we have spent we've actually spent years together coming to this point that feels totally free. Isn't that lovely? I think that's the best word for me is the freedom. And here we are, new year, and I actually don't feel that we're under a canopy of the new year. So many times we're in a new year and we're making New Year's resolutions, and this year is the year of the whatever, and the color is, and the number is, and the whatever. And I just go, no, you know what? Because that's one of the things that we're going to actually be talking about. What if I told you you create time? The time doesn't exist if you don't create it. How about that for a topic? So we'll be going into some stuff. So when I use things like Happy New Year, it's just because that's what our world around us is doing. But one of the things that I'm really encouraged myself about is not to make resolutions, but to understand that what we need to be doing is transforming, right? Like it's like the cocoon thing with the caterpillar and going in the cocoon, coming out a butterfly. There's a total transformation that's happening, and that's different than making a resolution and being determined. I am going to keep this and do this, and I'm going to be in a bikini by February 1st, Yeah, maybe not. But transformation is really and truly where we're going. We are being transformed. We are going from faith to faith, from glory to glory, because it's the intention of our Father that we do that. And it's really not as difficult as sometimes we make it. And and so tonight, I want to give us I'm going to give us a week of homework, which sounds really funny, but it's just sort of some thoughts coming your way, because every day is a choice. We make choices every day. Like, our the River 474, we live with purpose, love passionately, and inspire others. That's the tagline. And that's by no mistake, because that is the desire of my heart personally, to live with such purpose that things don't just happen accidentally and it's okay. And then you wonder about, what are we going to do from here? Because living with purpose, on purpose, says to me that, okay, you're making a choice every day and for everything that you do. That's all. It's because it's about choices. And some of us, when we're transformed, we have a Saul of Tarsus kind of experience where you're hit by the light and everything. But most of us don't have that. Most of the times we're transformed from what we read or what we're challenged with, a book or a movie. You're a product of the last movie you saw or the last book you read. Don't, be aware that it matters, that be purposeful about what you do and what you choose. Sometimes it's an illness that makes you conscious for the need of rest and a reset. And Ed and I actually, you may not need all this information, but part of tonight is because of that word reset that Father said to me. Ed and I had, in between whenever, New Year's and today, had a few days where we were both really hit. It was good we weren't anywhere else. And it's a good thing we were steps away from the bathroom. That's all I'll say. It was not fun. It was not pleasant. It was not pretty. And it took a round out of it. It took a round out of me more than Ed. Ed bounced more than I did in this one. But we're not used to having any kind of illness. So I'm very serious. We have lived really, in our 30 years together, can't remember having a cold. So to get hit like this was really humbling, I'll tell you. But in the middle of it, I literally couldn't do anything, but I sat and I watched NCIS on television for 3 days because all I wanted to do was breathe and remember where the bathroom was. I could, in between that, you're just sleeping a lot. And at the end of it, when you know how you wake up out of something like this, and I said, okay, Father, I know what to do. I know how to regroup from this, but I want to hear from you. And I, for the first time, had the most amazing sense of gratitude for having gone through something so difficult. And I said, that's my first response. I said, I'm really grateful for this. I'm grateful, but I want you to unpack with me, because I know that you didn't do this, that I participated in this on my own, and I don't even know the reason. And I'm not asking for the reason. What I'm asking for is, when these things happen, what is the most important thing to do? And he said, for you right now, it's to reset, to push a reset button. And so in that time, as I felt like I was coming out of a haze, actually, which in a way I really was. And but he started talking to me about me, and he started talking about what needed resetting. And I thought, you know, in my life at times, I think, oh, I've sinned. I've fallen short of what God is telling me to do, all that. None of that was even a thought. And my thought went to, okay, what do I need to reset? And as he's sharing with me how he wants me reset, which I'm really grateful for, the level of revelation and understanding to things that I've been asking for, it was like Kim last night with the fire hose, with the subjects that she was sharing. And I'm so grateful. So I'm sitting excited, guys, to be in this reset, because here's what I know. We're all in this together. And whatever it takes. Sometimes it is, for me, it was an illness, but it's time for a reset. One of my favorite lines, when somebody asked me how I prepare for something, I used to say, prepare the man, not the message. Because after all, it's the abundance of the heart, right, that makes the mouth speaks. But now I've changed that. Prepare the man, become the message. So whatever it is that you're believing to be, to do, whatever, become that, become it. One of the things in my reset that Father talked to me about was, he said, I want you to look at healing in a different way, because and you know, those of you who know me really well, my whole language to prayer has changed. We talk about intention, we talk about God squads, we talk differently than we usually have. And he said, I want you to rest in that differently, and become that message of healing. So he said, take your hands. And he started talking to me about what happens when you take your hands and you take somebody's face, or you take the situation and the energy. And as I was doing that, I was going like this, and I'm going, you can feel that. If you just do that, you can feel your own aura, your own what, and at different times, it, you know, when Jesus said the kingdom of heaven is at hand, what he meant by that is it's as close as the heat that comes to your face when your hand is there. And he said, so he started talking to me about, you know, it's like when we used to lay hands on the sick and they recover kind of thing. He says, I want you to look at that. I want you to revisit some of that. And and one of the things, and I don't know if Carmen is on right now, but I've been doing that with her in the spirit, just holding her face and kissing her. Uh, and I thought, wherever this is needed, I'm changing just to do and become the message of it in whatever way. And I don't know if it's explaining it to you right, but I'm setting my heart differently. So as we set our hearts, okay, to this next year, I'm going to challenge us to bring a new thought, bring life to a new thought every day. These are going to be really simple. I am not taking us, you know, deep and wide. I just want us to see how simple transformation can be and how it can start and how it lays a foundation so we can go on from there. You may listen to these challenges that I'm going to share. There's 7 of them. And you say to me, oh, I know that, you know, no big deal. I know that, or I'm doing that, etc. But when you go into a thought or doing something on purpose, right? It allows God to partner with you to his design and purpose. So when we spend time in this focus, it's like adjusting the lens of a camera to see something clearly. In focus, your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions may find a resting place. And it's a room in your heart where it can be met with divine counsel who knows where it can go from there. So each of these things that I'm bringing up will be personal to you. It's not going to be something that I say, oh, this is what you should do. Okay. So when we set our thoughts purposefully to change something, it's a gift that you give yourself. And whether you listen once or just take a thought a day and meditate on that, I just want to encourage you just to do it and do something, because what we give our attention to expands. Okay. The choice is yours. So just choose wisely. So in these next 7 days, here's our challenge. It's not like you don't, with what if you don't have enough on your plate or on your mind, but these are simple. These are easy. In these next 7 days, there are 7 thoughts to inspire you to thoughts and actions that may hopefully change your reality and bring you to a new place. They may also help you to broaden your personal foundation in life to achieve goals, visions, or intentions. So our goal is to take 1 day at a time, just one of these ideas a day. You can do them all in a day, it's fine, but here's part of the challenge. Until we meet again next Wednesday. And then we're going to have a roundtable discussion on where we landed on these. You're going to think they're really simple, but it's going to be interesting when we come to that place. So this is a 2-week thing. So the first thing I want us to do is to listen to the silence each day. And you may be surprised what you find out about yourself. And of course, journal, if you will. Oh, thanks, Eddie. I'm grumbling a lot, in my throat.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You repeat number 1.
Thank you. Yeah, my throat is fine. Okay, so day number 1. Here's day number 1. Excuse me. Remember. That's day number 1. Isn't that a lovely word? Remember. Day number 1, we're going to bring things back into the right place, visualizing a time of strength or bliss, something wonderful. if the members of your body are out of sync, then your whole being doesn't work well. So you need to remember them so that things can come back to the original intent. Now, this is the same for groups or professionally or socially. The principle of remembering is the same, but today it's for you. That's just you. This whole thing is only about you and for you to remember you. So don't be tempted to take this exercise outside of your personal life, okay? Today, take time, the first day, to remember you. Allow you time. And I'm not saying you're going to spend hours in this. This might be 5 minutes with your coffee. That's how easy it is to do this. But we're going to take time, give a moment of meditation to remember people who have passed away, maybe, or we give them 2 minutes of silence, and things that happen to us, we don't give ourselves any minutes. When was the last time you gave yourself time of just reflection, just remembering? In this time, if something comes to your heart that's negative or like a past trauma or fear, welcome it. Say, thank you for being here, thought. Thank you. Thanks for showing up. And then ask, what is this situation teaching you? Just like my 3 days of, oh my golly, what is that teaching you? It's amazing how much you'll learn. Even if, don't beat yourself up. Like seriously, I think that's one of the things that we're so used to doing. We're less than perfect, something's happened, whatever. Forgive yourself or forgive whatever needs forgiving, and then feel what needs feeling, good and bad, and then put whatever it is into a balloon in your imagination and let it go, or write it out and put it in a fire and watch it burn. But honor day one, honor yourself. That's it, that's all. And in the silence, let yourself think of some time that you felt excited about something, compassion, gratitude, maybe a time you were surprised or a time you felt particularly cherished and loved. From the conversation that we had in chat time, let's remember this peaceful Christmas and how beautiful. And let that time go into your heart and then simply say thank you. Nothing else, just a sweet thank you. And remember it into your life. And after you've spent that time, I spent longer explaining it to you than it will actually take you to do. And then just finish this sentence, complete the sentence. I am, whatever it is, grateful, whatever, for just simply. So that's that's our day one. Day two, take time to think about nature. If possible, spend time in a natural setting, green space with trees, or if you're like us, we've just had a major snowstorm, or fall, actually, it wasn't a storm. Today I did this and I just went for a walk in the snow. It was beautiful. It can be even if you just looking out your window, whether you're in a high-rise apartment or a cottage on the lake, nature is around you. Sounds are around you. If you're in a high-rise, it's amazing how the sounds will travel, the vehicles, everything. But you know what? You often don't notice it, even in your own home. Like we're on a fairly busy street, and I was thinking today of how the noise or the noises of everyday traffic and things like that, we don't even hear it. Sometimes we forget to look at the sky, into cloud formations, into things flying by. Sometimes we're so focused, get in the car, check, not check, do whatever, and you just go, and you just go. But today you're going to notice. see a plane flying by? Have you ever thought, I wonder where that plane's going, what those people are doing, who they are? I love cities at night. I love looking at lights, city lights. I love flying into Winnipeg and seeing the gold and silver lights, because everything represents a person to me. There's a window that light, and somebody's behind that, and there's life and things are happening, and it's exciting. If you're by a lake, the trees, well, you know what I'm saying. You'll be surprised. So to the second day, it's about nature. It's about nature. It's not about becoming a tree hugger, but let me tell you, if you feel like you need to hug one, go and do it. If you've never hugged a tree, seriously, day 2, go hug a tree. Why not? Expand your thoughts and feel what's around you, and take time in that silent moment just to whisper thank you, and take time in the silence. Don't think about anything. Just, isn't this okay? Hug a tree for 30 seconds. Oh my golly. Do something you haven't done before. All right. Day 3. Take time to make a memory. Whatever you do today, wherever, stop and make a memory. Sounds weird, right? But our lives can be such a runaway train going downhill faster and faster. Maybe you're purposefully in a mall, stop at a stoplight, playing golf, whatever, stop and make a memory. Okay, I got one for I'm looking at Todd and Elizabeth. When you kiss each other goodbye in the morning, because you'll be seeing you later, make that a memory. Like a kiss that you forgot, you just take it for granted. No, make a memory kiss with a child, with your dog. Make a memory with that annoying neighbor that had his car going on and off, beeping all evening and just made you crazy. Make a memory. I seriously have done this all my life. It's one of the things we did with the kids, and I do with myself, is to stop and make a memory. And what happens is you end up with this filing system in your brain. It seems like it's like a photo album, and you think, oh, I remember, and you smile to yourself. And I think I've told this story before, but one of Ed's friends, I'm not a golfer, but I've gone golfing. I accessorize. I have a Benetton bag. I have all the things that go with it. I accessorize. And on this golf trip, I was lagging behind, and one of his friends was walking with me, feeling quite sorry for me, or himself. I wasn't sure who. But anyway, we stood on this top of this hill and on this golf course, and I said, oh, let's just stop and make a memory. We will never see this again. It was the most amazing hill that we saw, valley. There's a church in the distance. It was a perfect day, temperature amazing. Anyway, I won't go into all the details, but he and I, to this day, and this is like 20 years ago now, can tell you exactly what we saw in that picture, because we stopped and we took and we made a memory. And it doesn't belong to anybody else in the world except the two of us. And it made my day because I didn't have to golf for that 10 minutes. So it was very good. Anyway, with your child, with your best friend, with a new friend, make a memory. So that's that's just your goal. What day are we on here? I'm trying to think. Day 3. Okay, day 3. It's make a memory. Sometimes in our life, the only thing we make a memory or allow in is trauma. Isn't that tragic? We can clearly tell you what's happened when this tragedy happened. But somehow we forget that we can do the same thing that actually generates our system to health in a whole different way, doing something meaningful and joyful. And you'll be surprised by joy when these beautiful memories surface and you'll smile, even if it's just to yourself. It's a gift that you're giving yourself. So on day 3, finish the sentence, I am, that's it. Can you see how difficult these things are? They are just absolutely, you know, I mean, really, you need a PhD to figure them out, don't you? But it's just living on purpose. Day 4, do something special for someone. Now, remember, this is purposeful. Be God's champion of caring. And this go outside of your normal stuff. Write somebody a note, call them, pay for the person's coffee behind you in line at the drive-through. Compliment a complete stranger. The other day, I think I've told you before, Ed bought a whole bunch of $5 Tim Hortons cards that we carry and give out. We have a lot of opportunities to give to people on the street, especially when it's cold out. And so it's one thing we do. And the other day I was coming out of a grocery store and there was a young man, he's probably in his 30s or early 40s. That's young for me, guys. And he's sitting there and I looked at him and he was sitting by the front door at a grocery store that I was leaving. So out of place. He wasn't begging, but it was like he'd been punched in the gut. And I looked at him, he had work boots on, he wasn't filthy dirty. And I thought, well, he's not coming in from work because something's happened, but I don't know. And I thought, okay. So I went out to the car because I didn't have the cards with me, and I took a few of them because the cards are just for $5. And I said, sir, I can tell that something's wrong. I'm not asking you to talk to me. I'd like you to have these cards. And I told them that each had a $5 value so that he, with dignity, could go and use them. And I said, would you think about maybe just going across to Tim Hortons and treating yourself to a nice hot cup of coffee and something to eat? And you'll see things differently. And he was in shock. Well, when I handed them to him, and he took them, and then I started walking away, and he called after me, and he said, Miss, thank you. You have no idea what this means. And I didn't engage further. I didn't need to. I did the part, but find something. Find something to do for somebody that will never be able to do something for you. If there's a person you're having trouble with, forgive them. If that's the only thing, if that's what you do with this day, fabulous. When you forgive them, forgive yourself, sincerely forgive, because it's what you do. It's what you do that for you, because it's been said that if we don't forgive, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Imagine, right? Forgive. Unforgiveness is toxic. Even if the other person doesn't know they've offended you. Be aware of judging another by your standards and letting it be the moment in your thoughts. No judging. This is a no judgment day. This is your day to do something special for someone. And if that's special, that someone is you, then do it for you. You're worth it. You're worth it to do it for you. People think that God is the judge of your thoughts, and actually you are. You're the one that has the problem. God doesn't have trouble with our thoughts. Nothing's rocking his world, but rocks yours. So your thoughts create your circumstance. We have free will. Neither God or the devil makes you do anything. So just do it because you can, and love yourself. How's that for day 4? All right, day 5. We're zipping through this week. Always remember, it's much better to be kind than right. That's what we're going to think about in day 5. And if you're taking copious notes, you don't have to, because I'm going to give you all these notes. I'm going to put it into a PDF and ask Bob to put it with the lesson tonight, so people can just download it if you want to take this assignment. Remember that argument that you tried to make a point and the words came heated, words were spoken that you wish had not been said. Sometimes these exchanges will be planted and will fester like an unattended wound. Sometimes the exchanges will get implanted in your subconscious, where at the most inopportune time, they'll surface and cause pain to another, and you wonder where they came from. No one wins in arguments. It's better to be kind than right. Should we be able to disagree? Absolutely. Can we disagree without being disagreeable? Yes, we can. So weigh the moment and think through what you're trying to convey. Because, when you have a thing like this, you're going to have opportunity. Day 5, you're going to have an opportunity to decide whether you want to be kind or right. It's crazy how these things happen. Nobody wins some arguments. They're just not worth it. I think of the times that I've really, really, really needed to be right. And I think, I don't even remember now what it was I needed to be right about. But boy, at the moment, and they can cause such division. Psalm 106:15 says, he gave them the desires of their heart, but sent leanness to their souls. That's from Psalm 106. It means that the Israelites got what they wanted, but they lost what they needed. So we can argue and need to be right, and God will often give us what we think we want, but it'll bring leanness to your soul. Do these things without sharing with anyone else, because you see, it's not about you, but it's all about you. And you're simply being to your world who God is to you when you're like this. So take every opportunity to be special to someone else. Day 6. How about this one? Give and it shall be given. Sadly, some folk don't give unless there's a benefit to them. So this is the challenge, is it's like they only will consider an offering if it has a tax credit. I don't know how many services, organizations, whatever, put out this plea of sending in your money because it's in the last time of the year and it'll benefit your tax. I go, no, you know what it does? It actually can have, it's not concrete. It can have the opposite, because you just know what it is that you're doing, and you know that feeling. Or they won't give unless there's something in it for them. And some folk, they only want to be extravagant when people are watching. And many of us live with too much, yet we don't even think about giving it away. Oh, we might sell it to someone if the price is right. But what about thinking of giving something away? I always say, you can't outgive God. You can't. It's totally impossible. And do you need 6 sweaters, 5 winter jackets, closet full of purses? Do you? Just saying. And you know what? We don't have to give away. As a matter of fact, in our house, I said to Ed, we're not going to ever give anything away that's junk. I don't mind if somebody wants something that's junk. I'll gladly give it to you, but I'm not going to give something that I personally think is junk. I went through seasons of religious giving. These were fun. I call it religious because it's what it seemed to be the impetus behind it when people were talking about it, like tithing. I tithed for so many years out of fear, seriously, till we're talking decades ago now, but that's how it was taught to me. If you don't do this, then you're cursed. hello. Then I met God. He doesn't curse. He doesn't curse. Sorry. And then there are the questions, well, do you tithe on the gross or the net? And you have these huge discussions / arguments, and then that person feels better, bigger because of their answer than yours. And I go, oh my golly, we were in such a middle of a muddle. Some people that if you don't tithe, you'll be poor, and they'll quote Bible bullets at you. Yikes. Then there was this teaching on teruma about if you're being taught by somebody, then that person is considered your rabbi, and rabbis got 2% of your income that's given by the priests to the priests and the rabbis in the Jewish culture. Jesus wasn't poor because he got teruma, and that's why he needed what do you call it? An accountant. I lost it because I don't need an accountant. Anyway, I go, oh my golly. So that was another one, but these came out of guilt in my life. I'm not saying they're in your life. I'm not saying it's anything except in my life. It brought guilt, it brought fear, and all the wrong things. And then trading came in. I bought into trading. I thought, well, this is fun. And so now you're giving money and exchange for a spiritual revolution or revelation. And I bought into it. I thought, this is fun. The big guys are doing it. And I went, okay. Then I had to breathe. And I thought, what are we doing? What are we doing? Is this a living with purpose, loving passionately and inspiring others, Helen? No, 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 no. If I give, it's going to give, I'm going to give. You know why? Because it's from my heart. And it's not because you want something. And it's not out of guilt. And it's not out of fear. And it's not out of being bullied. And I'm not throwing the money on the floor. I'm respectfully going to put it into your hands. There you go. The end. Oh boy, I might get a little flack for this one. Anyway, you know what? I've got the mic, so this is my personal gig. That's all I can say. If I'm offending anyone, I'm sorry. I just came to this place of peace, not programs, not processes. And giving to me is a heart position first. Freely give, freely receive. And by the way, when you get something, when you receive something, freely receive it in the same heart as giving, freely receive. It's a two-way street. And giving isn't just about money and stuff. It's also about your time, about your talent, about your ability to share. And sometimes be extravagant without telling anyone. You know, we had a situation one time, Ed extravagantly gave to something in an organization, and he did it because he felt in his heart this is what he was supposed to do. He did it. But the leader of the company wanted to use his giving as a example of jump starting the what was happening, the reason he gave. And I'm being vague because I need to be. Anyway, and I went, no, no, you're not even receiving a gift in the heart of what is being given. But you know what? If you want to be extravagant, you be extravagant, and you don't have to tell anybody. Don't have to. The best thing, I love the best thing is doing something that being the secret Santa. Let's put it that way. Nobody needs to know. Giving mimics God. He's the most extravagant giver and expects nothing in return. But in it, there's nothing missing, nothing broken. So on day 6, ask, how may I serve? How may I serve? Please don't think that all this giving is just about money. It's how may I serve? Okay, so now we're going to get into our, the week is closing, day 7. Here's one, and then we're going to talk about why we're doing this. Do not bear false witness, sometimes written thou shalt not lie. And we call it the ninth commandment. Do you know what I found out? It's not about lying. That bearing false witness is not about lying. Do you know what it is? It's about don't tell another person's story. Because in a courtroom, when somebody tries to tell another person's testimony, the judge or the lawyer will say, that's hearsay, right? Well, you can't, that's like telling a lie. When you hear a story or see a situation that's not really your story to tell, I wonder how many problems in life would be avoided if when somebody asks you about somebody else, your answer to them is, you know what? That's their story to tell. That's their story. Well, how are Kathy and Eric doing? You know what? That's their story to tell. Why don't you call her? How's Judy doing? I heard she was ill last year. You know what? That's her story. Why don't you give her a call and ask? She'd be happy to talk to you. We forget. We forget. And we love to be in the middle of conversations, right? One of my first jobs when I moved from Ottawa to Winnipeg, I worked in a professional office in Ottawa and in a medical clinic. And so when I came here, I was interviewing for a similar type of job in another medical field. And the doctor that was interviewing me asked me a question that was very relevant, a very personal question, by the way, of my former employer. And I was very good friends with my former employer. We had a very close office and knew his family and he knew ours, etc. And so new stuff, right? He was also very well known in the neighborhood. Like, he lived next door to the prime minister. Our office had, hot and cold running politicians all the time and people of means. And so I was very familiar with a lot of stuff that was going on. And Ottawa's a small town. And so when he asked me, I looked at this guy and I said, you know what? I know the answer to that, but I don't believe it's relevant to my qualification for this job. And furthermore, I thought, well, I've got Mike. Furthermore, it's a small world. And there is a chance, a good chance, that you're going to meet this person. When you do, you can ask him, and I guarantee you that he will answer the question. And at that moment, he laughed and he hired me on the spot. He says, you're exactly who I'm looking for. Because he had a practice very similar. And about 2 years later, he was on holiday. He met the person he had asked the question about, came back laughing into the office, and he says, you'll never guess. I said, sure, you met so-and-so, and he told you, didn't he? Well, because I already knew. And yeah, exactly happened. So don't tell anybody else's story, because it's not your story to tell. I just love that that story. And realize that when we do that, when we get into those conversations, actually we're lying, because we don't have firsthand knowledge as hearsay. So those are your 7 challenges for next, one a day. So why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because when we're going to set a week aside to live on purpose. And I know that this is a canned thing where somebody is saying, well, this is what we're all going to just do it together. And things are going to happen in our life because we're doing something on purpose. But what happens when we do these things on purpose together like this, or just as an individual, you set your goal, for instance, what happens is that within us starts an awareness of foundational life and truths that we need to be living without thinking. And we think, well, it doesn't sound like a great big spiritual deep thing happening, but I'll tell you what, it is. It's exactly the thing that we miss doing because we're out there looking for the greater spiritual revelation of something, and we forget that we need to be living in this amazing reality of life, living on purpose, loving passionately, and inspiring others while we're doing it. That is our life. That's the reality. Then when we realize that this is the life we need to live, what happens is the flooding in of the things that Father says, you know what? I can trust you with this. I can trust. Are you watching? I can trust them. I don't know who he sends, angels, whoever. But he looks and he says, I can trust you. The other thing that happens is within yourself, you go, I feel trustworthy because I'm not just letting life randomly happen to me. I'm living my life. Nobody else is doing it. No one else is pulling the strings. No one else is pushing the buttons. I am making choices. I'm making good ones, and I'm doing it best I can. And believe me, when you do that, when you lay that foundation, you purposely start living from your sacred self that will empower us to go into the next levels that we are being taken. And we have to live our life from purpose to purpose. We love passionately and inspire others in that. So how about that, guys? You ready? I know. It's not your maybe what you wanted for the new year, that with things exploding and firecrackers and that. But I am totally convinced of these type of moments where we can do a reset if necessary. It might not apply to everybody, but it's you know what, it's part of my reset. It's part of what Father has shown me. I got knocked out of the game for a few days, but this reset, this is part of mine as well, and it's kind of fun. What can I say? It's just kind of fun. So I'm gonna unpin me or whatever you do here to go on to gallery and see everybody. I should do something spiritual and say, we'll go into the silence now. Forgot that. Oh, well.
And that was so great. I loved it. I appreciate, that the day-to-day is manageable considering everything else that's going on. There was a question in the chat just about number 7, and something I was wondering too, as far as sort of like the phrase for that, like the practicing not telling other people's story, is that sort of like what, so just practice if every opportunity you have on day 7, just to redirect people to connect with those they're asking about.
Yeah, yes. Also be aware of your own your own language to things, right? We tend to exaggerate. An exaggeration is a lie. We don't think. I have a friend, Chicky, that's Gina's aunt. She's the loveliest person on the planet. And she says, Helen, I don't lie. I don't exaggerate. I use hyperboles. And she's just a riot. She's just because we've had these discussions. But the fact is, when we exaggerate, you may, we're talking about day 7, but I'm talking about in general. When we're talking about things, right, where something happens, a testimony or whatever, and you get excited and you make it a little bit larger than life. Well, a little bit larger than what really happened is called outside of the truth, and actually that's a lie. So being truthful is important. So it's not just not telling someone's story, but it's the honesty, and be honest with yourself on that day. As you know, we can expand on that. Be honest with yourself. And if you're not feeling good about something, have a conversation with you about it. Maybe you're being honest about something about yourself for the first time. Some of the things that I've had to be honest about myself, I haven't really liked, but I got to change, got to get better. I tell Ed I'm perfect. See, there's a lie right there. Eddie, I dare you. Am I perfect? Okay. Anyway, you guys know what I'm saying, don't you? What is it? I just see something come up here now.
That's helpful. Oh, that Tess is just commenting about the discussion here. I can read it if that's helpful.
Right.
Um,
Well, if somebody,
uh,
I'd rather people put up their hand if that, then we can
Sure.
all.
Oh, sorry, there was Tess and Em were commenting, but I'll let them speak for themselves.
Yeah. Elizabeth or Todd.
Me. I love all of this tonight. In the discussion beforehand, I was going to share, I guess when we were talking something, but about getting out of our minds and being, and Todd and I have been talking about that. But I also re-picked up the power of now. I had told somebody about it, referred someone to it, and I was thinking, I need to pick it up again and refresh myself. And so I opened it up, and it's just so glorious. But yeah, we get so caught in our minds and we're not present. And we become our thoughts, like we're in our mind instead of present and being, and in our bodies, in this consciousness, and being able to just be present. And so let's see, what else did I want to say about that? So just everything you were saying tonight made me think of that. I remember the first time, one of the first times I heard Justin Abraham years ago. I don't know how many years ago, but he said, we don't have to think and think and think and figure things out. We don't have to do things like that anymore. And I was like, what? It was like the first time that really got through to me. But instead, like being and letting the Lord, it's not like we don't think anymore, we don't process, but being present and letting the Spirit bring these things to us instead of figuring them out in our own, whirling minds. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. I think that, and Elizabeth, I agree with you. I also, I think what you're saying now is leading where we're going to understand in a more powerful way what intuition is and how powerful that is in our life. And if we don't, and we will never operate or out of that place that we're called to, which is the intuitive self, because that's our sacred self, right? That's our higher self. We won't do that because we're burdened down in things that that I just brought up tonight. If you're not purposefully living free, then you won't live out of your intuitive nature. And that's because then you become in that paralysis of analysis. And yeah, it really stops us.
And exhausted, because I was telling Todd, it's like we're a mouse on the wheel, because our mind is always whirling. And so we're not in the rest of God. We're just like,
Exactly.
even when we're sitting and resting, we're not resting if our mind is doing this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so important to get out of the mind, to not be the mind anymore.
And I so agree. And if we can learn to live freer, which is what this 7-day thing is, then that won't become a stumbling block for ourselves, right? We will live free, because and just just to reiterate, none of this is about anybody else. It's about us, about our own It's not, and it's not even to judge yourself, like by putting yourself down. Be aware and be purposeful. Yeah, awesome, awesome. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Uh, yeah. I, as you were going through, I was really quite amazed because this morning I woke up from crying from a dream. So, and it's very real, part of what I've been experiencing. But I started looking at what we had learned last night, and everything just kind of settled down, and all of a sudden there was a turnaround somehow. I sensed it in the spirit. There was a turnaround for me, even though I still do a lot of crying. But it was a turnaround for me, and I started purposely doing things that normally I would not do. I often, look out the window or whatever, and nature is very prevalent. You talked about hugging a tree. I've learned that, if you're going through some really bad stuff, hug a tree, give that to the tree. And what regenerates is oxygen, and there's life that comes from that tree. So dealing with nature in that way. Day 7, when you talk about do not bear false witness, I remember years ago, of course, it was all about do not gossip. And one comment that my dad used to always say is, if you didn't hear it from the horse's mouth, then don't repeat it. So I would often say this to this individual that was in my household, and they would continue on. I said, if you didn't hear it from the horse's mouth, I don't want to hear it. So that stopped it. And as it turned out, there was a lesson, because at one point this person did repeat it, and that individual that was spoken about came back at him and called him up on it. And so it was very embarrassing for him, as well as, this individual that spoke it out. But, so it was a hard lesson for that individual to learn, but it proved its worth. If you didn't hear from the horse's mouth, then don't repeat it, because it's not your story to tell, just like what you said. So, yeah, that's kind of but I love this. There's a lot of this stuff I'm already doing, giving without wanting anything returning. But oftentimes throughout my life, I found that when I've given, somebody is always suspecting that I'm giving it for the wrong reason. And I'm not. I just want to give. That's just my nature. I was raised that way to give, because if you have more, then give it to someone else, because it's always going to come back to you. Always.
Ellen, you're muted.
Sorry, I was saying such good things. I had a little coughing thing here, so I muted myself. I appreciate what you're saying, and that you're ahead of the curve on this one too. This is really, really good, and I love that. If it's not, if you don't hear it from the horse's mouth, I'm going to write that down so I remember it. If you don't hear it from the horse's mouth, yeah,
It's a very old saying.
it is an old saying, but that's okay. I'm old, I remember. Or I had forgotten, now I remember. We're funny. Anyway, my dad was the master of acts of random kindness, because he'd carry money to feed parking meters, so that if somebody's parking meter was expiring, he'd go and feed it, just so that the guy wouldn't get a ticket. Now nobody never know. The guy wouldn't even probably know that he expired and had possibility of a ticket. But there's goofy things we can do all the time, and just be that something special for someone. Imagine everybody in the world just did one act of random kindness for every day. how good is that? Gina. You're on mute. You're mute.
Back at you there. Okay. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. It was interesting when you said, right at the end, oh, now I should say something religious like, let us go into the silence. But I think it's very apropos, because that's what it seems to me, for me anyway, that's what this will take.
Mhm.
And, pondering the challenge of the day or the question. And as you were speaking, I was just sort of writing for my own self, go into the silence and listen to the silence. I love that you said that. Listen, just let's listen to the silence. And I thought, okay, well, this is what I wrote, which we touched on a little bit. Let intuition, not interpretation, be my guide.
Nice.
Let freedom and not fear be my guide. Let my inner sacred self arise, not my outward self-consciousness to be my guide. And let learning be, not knowing. Let learning, not knowing, be my guide. So that was just helpful for me, because as I go into this sort of inner work, I can have intuition, freedom, my inner sacred self, and learning be at the forefront. It helps me then to keep focused
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. That's great.
I love that, Gina. Let intuition be the guide. That
Mhm.
I as much as all these steps and everything is purposeful and written out, and imagine living from your intuitive nature, your higher self,
Mhm.
and being led by that in everything purposefully every day. That really is it is the call on our lives, I believe.
I think so. And as opposed to interpretation, that
Yeah.
was really important to me, because that's it. I feel like I've always done, I have to interpret this to be a certain thing because that is my system of belief.
Right.
Well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
Because it's not really my system. If my system of belief can't change into my intuitive sense, then what am I doing? So interpretation stands aside for intuition to raise me up to my higher self.
That's so good. So good. Really, really good. I'm with you there.
Mm.
Thank you. Cindy Lou.
Yes, thank you. That was very good. The first line I'm still stuck on, though, listen to the silence, because silence has been the hardest thing in the world for me, because I've got to be studying, I've got to be reading, I've got to be learning, I've got to be whatever. And I'm like, another plug for Qigong, because there's 7 exercises, but 2 of them are meditation. And it took me 2 months to be silent and still for 8 minutes. Like literally 2 months. I was so proud of myself. I did 8 minutes and I didn't look at the clock, because being still and being silent is not acceptable in a workaholic family. So it took me till this time and stage in my life to be able to be still, and revelation is popping in my head. I had a memory the other day of when I was like 15, and I just felt all of it and then released it. And moved on. It was like, well, that's counseling 101, right? It was just silence is so powerful. And maybe that's why it's so hard.
Yeah, I, exactly, exactly, exactly. Because we are so used to the analyzing. We're so used to creating our own division by thinking both sides of something, weighing right, wrong, up, down, all of that. We create the duality that's unnecessary a lot. And you cannot divide silence.
And
So,
it's so peaceful. That place, I have
mhm.
felt bliss, like Justin Abraham talks about this bliss. And in the practice, you're supposed to smile because it starts my internal love engine. And it's like I can actually smile now, like for real, not like fake, trying to make yourself. So it's in that silence and revelation is popping in my head. Like you did the thing like last summer about peace. And I'm like, in one of these silences, I can hold the whole world in my heart.
Yeah,
Really? And we're being taught that, but it was like now it's mine
yeah,
because I was silent and that just popped in. So I'm not doing anything. I'm just being a daughter of the Most High. And this is so new for me and so good.
awesome, awesome, awesome. I agree. It's I think being in the silence is an art form. It really is. Really is. Thanks, Cindy Lou. Elizabeth.
I got something else. Cindy Lou, I love that so much. Like you're in the flow. It's hard. I'm talking to Cindy Lou now. Oh, there you are. Yeah. And Helen, so when you were talking about flying over and seeing the lights and knowing the lights are connected to someone, I just began seeing like like going within and seeing in the spirit realm, from the spirit realm, like seeing everyone as lights and not just everyone embodied, not embodied, angels, angelic beings and whatnot, all around us, but all these lights and connected, we're all connected. But like when we're in that place, we can get these messages, kind of like a brain and all the neurons and nerves and stuff and all the messages that are passing, like I feel like Cindy Lou's, been experiencing, like feeling that, and it's bliss and it's joy and it's receiving and it's releasing. And yeah, so I just bless all of us to just be able to step into that and just feel it,
Yeah.
experience it, right?
I'm receiving that blessing right now. Thank you.
Amen. I feel it. Ooh.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah. Wow. Okay, well, team, I have no idea what time it is, but it looks like we're heading into our week. Please don't feel like this is a have to, this is a get to. But next week, I'm really hoping, we got a Plank family hand again.
The man.
Yeah, sorry, I'm working on speaking less.
No,
Well, yeah, it's a work thing, but anyway, I'm just really I really appreciate all of these, and the timing's perfect. I'm actually going on a men's retreat where there's meditative time that is not my strength, but it is something that I'm getting better at. So I'm really looking forward to it. But I did want to share this. When you first said remember, you said it, but I don't know if you said it as intentionally as I picked it up. When we do communion and the Lord says, do this in memory of me. I know he wasn't speaking English, but he actually said, remember me whenever you eat. And he's taking the broken bread And what communion is to me is reunifying, reconnecting the entire universe. So it's literally the opposite of dismember. It is remembering his body, and that's all of us together. And that's why we're supposed to do it as we gather. And some people don't like that because they're like, no, we were never separate. No, I get that, but we felt we were. And like you said, it's your thoughts that create division. So when you started off with remember in the silence, it just set me as, okay, whatever she says for the next 7 days, I'm doing.
You got it.
Yeah, you're you're very sweet. Actually, you saw my intent or felt my intent because I write remember with a hyphen.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how I think of it too. Sorry.
I love that you said communion, because whenever I think of communion these days, I think come union. Right. And that's exactly what you just explained. Thank
That's it.
you.
Common union, come join the union.
Come union,
all
or
Amazing word.
come is a with, like come in French, with union.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
I just learned French.
So, yeah, there we go. Beautiful.
Sorry, I'm having I need you to just keep talking. I agree with all that, by the way. I think that's I love when you look behind the scenes at these words, and especially when they really affect our hearts, like remember or communion. Sorry.
And I like to think of the contrast too, like, we don't want to think in terms, like Todd said, of separation and all of that and the bad things that happen or this and that. But when things happen that are contrary to what we really think we should be doing or we ought to have, or the best view, or if we were in faith or whatever, if we don't have contrast, we don't know what we don't want. And so it really just, you can just praise God for all of it and be grateful for all of it, like you were grateful, Helen, for your time of sickness. And those are powerful times indeed, not pleasant, but the contrast, it gives us something against which to define. It helps us define. I like to use the example of, if I gave you, and Sherry, I think I even discussed this with Sherry, if I wanted you to draw a sunflower, but I gave you just yellow paint, you'd draw the sunflower, but then you'd draw the sky in yellow, you would draw the stem in yellow, you would draw the middle, and then where's the sunflower? So we need those contrasts in order to define and show us what we really like, and what the Lord is saying, and what our giftings are. And then even those things that we see that we don't like, those are things that we get to bring to the light, and whatever word you want to call it, transform or alchemize, or just bring into perfection, into love. So it's good. Contrast is good.
Penny, that was really well said. I think it's so true. And we would never appreciate the light if there wasn't darkness, right? I just yeah, it's basic, we forget. And but what I'm learning is to be grateful in all of it, all of it.
There's a profound thing that somebody said. There is no light without darkness.
Right. Exactly. Susan Willis.
Hi, I just wanted to touch on, the thoughts in the mind going around in circle and trying to hang on to rest. A couple of years ago when the Lord was speaking to me about self-love. So one of the things that I did was to love myself, was to love my mind, even though it seemed like my mind, was running me at times. But anyway, I was kind to myself and loved my mind, whether it behaved or not. And I realized that my thoughts are not me. And so with the self-love, I found that I was gentle with myself. And if I went to my heart, checked in with my heart, when my mind was running, I had rest, I had peace and calm, and I could sit in stillness. And then it kept growing, and it's like now there's two streams, or there's me, I am in a state of rest and peace and stillness. And I can watch my mind with this ticker tape going constantly and just smile and wave and bless it. But it doesn't affect the rest and the calm and the peace. That's kind of how it happened for me. I mean, I don't always have it together, but it's happening.
Right.
And that's kind of what's happening. Yeah.
I love that description of being in peace and seeing the ticker tape. It's almost detached, right? Just seems very cool.
I hated to use the word detached or even separated because,
Yeah,
we try not to use those words anymore, but that's why kind of like two of me are separated, like, yeah.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. No, but I think it's a great illustration of the of actually great imagery of how you can use in the silence, because there's different strategies of learning things that if you want to, and silence it seems to be coming up a lot. I personally think it's key. I think it's the language of God. But so when I hear a strategy like that with the ticker tape, I think it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And who cares about the language, right? We're okay. We get it. We get it. Judith.
Yes, it was almost like with my mind, because for so long you're told not to think certain things, and your mind has to be a certain way in religion, and so it was almost like with loving my mind, it was like forgiving my mind and starting fresh in a new relationship.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the more I did this, the more it was powerless. It's powerless.
Yeah.
It may still run on this tape, but it's powerless.
Right. What a great place to get to. What an amazing, yeah. I think that's very useful. I'm sure I'm more than me to feel that way here. Judith, I see you.
Yeah, you see me. Okay, I just love everything that we're going to be going through this upcoming week. Absolutely love it. And we talked a bit about communion. And I've always known what the Bible said. I've always understood, but not really understanding. And this thing about communion and how we're supposed to check our hearts before we take communion, if there's anything in there that you have a nod against somebody, then you need to deal with that before you take communion. And I'm beginning to realize more and more how powerful that is. That's just one little, statement, but I'm realizing more and more how we just flow into one another. And by golly, we better have our hearts right towards ourselves, towards the Lord, and everyone else, because it affects you. And so everything that we're talking about here tonight, it doesn't just affect us, even our thoughts and, the words that we speak and stuff like that. And I think it was during the first What If, you talked about, just like you did tonight, putting stuff in a balloon, writing it out and letting it go. Well, at that particular time, I was really dealing with something, and it was fear. And that really, it worked. Every time it came to my mind, I would put that thing in a balloon and see it fly away until it was totally gone. And so some of these exercises that don't seem to be much at all could actually save somebody's life. And I've been able to share that, with others. And so I just want to say thank you so much, Helen, because I just love this.
Awesome.
Oh, and the other thing was taking a picture and remembering. Now, the last time that we went to Israel, there was a building just over from our place, and it was a white building. I'm not sure if it was a house. I don't think it was. And it had these blue flowers just hanging all down the side of this building. Well, do you know, I took a picture of that. I will never forget it. It just takes me right back there every time. And I've done that quite a few times, where there's something in the sky, or you automatically take a picture and you never forget it.
Yeah.
And every time I see it, it just brings a smile to my face. So that really works for me too.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because those are our little keys. Those are the inner keys to our own selves, right? That they're just between you and God, really, because nobody else has the joy of those blue flowers like you do. They belong to you, and you're working with God within you to bring about what's happening. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So good. So good. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be real quick here. You had also talked for day 5 about, or is it day 5 or is it day 4? Oh yes, I think it's day 5. Forgiving someone and then forgiving yourself. One of the things that I did when I felt this turnaround happen this morning was I decided that the relationship that was strained, that even though that I'd been holding the individual in love and not getting angry or judgmental or anything, but I was grieving the loss. I came to the conclusion that I had to still forgive as well as let go, because if that relationship in the future would not continue and it's a family member, then I need to let go and allow it to terminate. And as a mom, it's difficult, but it's strange because all this previous to this morning, I was always having struggles with the ringing in my ears. And I know it has something to do with the spiritual realm and whatnot, but I realize right now that I don't have that ringing in my ears anymore. And so the turnaround has already begun, and life is changing. And as long as I stay connected to God and to His creation, nature, I will always feel that peace within.
Amen. Amen. You know, while you were, while you haven't been on for a bit, I shared a testimony, personal testimony, with, a situation with one of my brothers that I had not spoken to for 8 years. And it was a very painful situation. I didn't realize how painful it was until I realized how painful it was, you know. But the key that, it's like I preached myself happy and doing in it, because I realized that we were doing some lessons on unconditional love, you know, and forgiveness and not judging. When I realized that I can't teach on this if I'm not living it. When I started being brutally honest with myself and living it, it broke all the barriers and the relationship has been reconciled. I was the problem. My brother hasn't changed a bit, like seriously, but I have, and the relationship has
And I
to
think
the degree. But I
right.
had to change first.
Yeah.
I had to deal with me. And where it's so easy to look outwards and very difficult to look inwards. And that's what a little bit of this week is about, right?
Mhm.
It's like give yourself a break. Be number one in your life, or, you know, it's not a selfish thing. Because when we get to the point where we can live truly in unconditional love, not judging ourselves, it's so easy to give that away. Loving, I mean,
Yeah.
really, truly, you can't be offended then. You can't.
No. And the thing is, talking the talk and walking the walk is different.
Oh,
But you know, like, I mean, that other individual is on their journey. I'm on my own journey, and I need to just
that's right.
part the ways, as the parting of the sea, whatever. You know.
Yeah, that's true. There's good things ahead. The best is yet to come, Em. Judith.
Well, I just wanted to say, you know about my brother because our situations were very much the same. And like, it's been years and years with no breakthrough. But when we started getting into all of this stuff and understanding, and, you know, Cindy Lou, you know, sending out love, look what happened to her sister and that sort of thing. Well, the door opened and my brother was writing his biography. And he asked me to, you know, to read some of it. Well, the door was open and I began to tell him, a lot of this is not your fault. Like, he doesn't have one family member that speaks to him. And there definitely is reasons for that. But I began to tell him this and that and the other thing. Well, everything just broke. And he came back with, thank you so very much for your kind words. And they weren't kind words, they were the truth. And you know what happens with the truth? And it was mainly between him and our father that all of this stuff happened to him, abuse. And I said to him, and I know he's very much into Wayne Dyer, and I said, read his biography and what he went through, and your life is very similar. And he did that. And he called me this morning just to see how I was. You know, this
Love it.
love factor
Yeah.
works.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Yeah. We got to come out of of this walk we're in just being a theory and somebody else's experiences. This is our life. We get one kick at the can. It's not a dress rehearsal, so we might as well just do our best along the way. Awesome. I love that. We'll chat more privately, Judy. Thank you for sharing. I don't know where you went to. There you are. Cindy Lou. You're on mute, sweetheart. Yeah.
It was so good and you didn't even hear it.
I
just
picked it up.
I wanted to say that you rock. You, by moving or forerunning or whatever you want to call it ahead of us, you're leading us down this glorious garden path to healing families and restoration. And I just applaud you tonight.
Well, thank you. You know what? We're doing it together, really and truly. We're doing it together. And everybody has a piece of this puzzle. Everybody has a part in it. And it isn't a one-man band ever. It's because we have each other. We get courage from each other, and we get wisdom from each other. I'd love to say, gee, thank you, Cindy Lou. That's really who I am. Without each other, it doesn't happen. It really doesn't. It's not a false humility. It's about us. It is really. But I appreciate your kindness. Thank you. And I appreciate the transparency of sharing your personal stories in it, because that's the strength of what's happening, and it's what we can give away to others when the new folk come on and say, well, you know what? Well, look at that. We have some testimonies and been through the test. Now we can share it with you. Now we can give it away. It's free.
That's beautiful, Cindy Lou. It reminds me of the topic we talked about communion, the come union. And we produce community.
Yeah,
And that's what we are.
that's right. That's right.
Amen. But someone has to open the door or do a Zoom or have a meeting or, someone has to get her going, or however you want to say that. So
No,
that is your part, to open the door to have a place where we can thrive.
well,
That's so true. And we do thank Helen for that. But we also have to thank one another and thank ourselves, because those people have to come. Just because the door is open doesn't mean you're going to go through it.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody.
Amen. Amen.
Coming to the union.
Oh, that's much, really, thank you. It is appreciated, Cindy Lou. Sometimes you do feel, you know what, when you're working, as you know very well, you feel like you're in isolation. You wonder about a lot of things. And so it is very appreciated to just feel edified. Thank you. Thank you.
There ain't no audience, there ain't no show.
That's right. That's right. Oh dear. All
Yeah.
right, team. Well, I think it's been a good night. I'm looking forward to the week. It feels very rich, feels like a lovely way to start into this season that we're in. And I just to say I love you is you almost run out of words. You just run out of words. But I know that the Lord blesses us. He keeps us. He makes his face to shine on us. He is gracious unto us. He lifts up his countenance upon us, and he grants us his shalom. nothing missing, nothing broken.